Hello, welcome to the Potluck Podcast. My name is Jason Kim. I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Chong. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
As you can tell from the sounds of our mouths eating, today we're doing a special podcast. It is a Mukbang Podcast because today we are talking about potluck. So the namesake of our podcast, Potluck, is kind of based on this idea of our church potlucks and how in the potlucks we eat obviously, but we also spend time talking, and some of the conversations that happen in our potlucks we want to either respond to or even generate new topics for people to talk about at potluck. And so we thought it would be cool to talk about just like church potluck, maybe like a brief history, and just our experiences with it. And we thought it'd be even more fun if we did it while we were eating, mukbang style. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see us eating. If you're listening to us like audio only, it's basically an ASMR experience for you. You'll hear the wonderful mouth sounds of myself and Chris, who actually has a lot of mouth sounds when he eats. Do you know this about yourself?
Yeah, I'm actually worried about our only audio listeners that they're gonna turn this off.
It's very possible
and
that,
tell us
that
like
happens.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't handle it. And if that's you in advance, I am sorry. But yes, no, I do know that I have a lot of mouth sounds, which is a really gross phrase. But I get in trouble for it all the time because I do know I make lots of sounds.
There are people who, when they eat, they make eating that food look more delicious than it is. And I actually
one of those
think
people?
You're one of those people. When you eat, what you're eating makes it looks better than what it could be.
You know, that's really interesting that you say that because my college entrance essay, I started with that. I'm serious.
What? Okay, tell me more.
So, you know, the point of a college entrance exam, or not exam, essay, is to, you know, essentially brag about yourself, you know, and just show the school why they should accept you.
Okay.
And I wanted to really stand out. So my essay began, the first 4 words were chomp, chomp, munch, munch. And the first introduction paragraph was like, it made it sound like, oh, I make food look really yummy when I eat. That's what the actual first paragraph was about. And then it changed to like, you know, creativity and whatnot. But I did get into the school I wanted to, which was UC San Diego. And I think because my scores weren't really good, I think it was my essay that did it. So thank you for acknowledging me.
Is that why you went to PUC? But,
no, the Lord called me. The Lord called me to PUC, and so I went. But yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying this for the first time. There are or will be logistical issues. For example, the microphone is really close to my forehead when I eat, and so I'm going to bump it while I eat. Also, you may notice that Chris and I were both wearing very white shirts. My wife, when I was telling her like the concept of the podcast yesterday, she suggested half jokingly that we should wear white clothes because Chris and I are very messy eaters. It's rare for me to eat at like potluck and come away with a clean shirt. She said we should do a challenge to see, or a contest to see who stains their shirt first.
I think I'm going to lose, so I picked a really bad food for this.
Yes,
I'm eating jjajangmyeon today.
Yes.
And I notoriously am a jjajangmyeon splatterer. You know, there's sometimes you go to restaurants and they'll give you an apron,
Right.
you know, to protect you. And so I'll wear it, but then I'll like inexplicably get it on my shoulder or like my arm right here, the one spot, or like right here where the apron is not covering. So I don't have a lot of faith in myself today. So I guess we'll announce at the end of the podcast who won, or maybe on Instagram. Maybe we can do a picture of our shirts.
Yeah, maybe. my wife's favorite story is when we were getting married. My best friend flew out a little bit early to kind of help with the wedding and stuff, and we went to eat at a place called Seonnongdan. And I was wearing a black hoodie, but there was one white square here. It's about an inch. And as I'm eating, I drop food right on that white box. Like, if this is entire black, just hits the white. And everyone's laughing. My wife is just like, oh my God.
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
I know.
It's a skill.
It is a skill. So we'll see what happens. My food is, I'm eating a salad. It's falling. So it might fall.
You're eating a salad?
Yeah, man.
When do you ever eat salads?
I'm all about healthy lifestyle and healthy living. I'm kind of offended you don't know that about
I'm actually really shocked right now because I can't really tell what it is. But that's crazy. So, where is this from?
Yeah, so what I'm eating is it's a place called Cafe Rio. It's a chain. So this is a taco salad. I understand it's kind of a precarious time to be eating salads. But I wanted it, so I'm eating it.
Okay.
It's actually special to me because when I first left Andrews, I lived in Loma Linda for like a month before my apartment was ready. And the first place I went out to eat with two of my really good friends was Cafe Rio in Loma Linda. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, this is the best food I've ever had after living in Andrews for 5 years. So there's a sentimental element to what I'm eating. I also thought Loma Linda was like the greatest place in the world after Andrews.
Yeah.
And by the end of my month, I realized it is not.
Yeah. We used to call it berry and belly,
Yeah.
where your taste buds acclimate to the Midwest or that area. And so everything else outside there is extremely delicious. But
Yeah. So what are you eating? I mean, you said jjajangmyeon, but like, give us
yeah,
more.
jjajangmyeon. This is kind of a local favorite. I don't know about favorite, but it's a super convenient little jjajangmyeon spot near our church. It's probably about 5 minutes away, called Taipei Noodle House. So shout out to Taipei Noodle House. It was one of the first things I ate here. It's so close that a lot of times, like, we'll just go grab it after church. It's been a while for me, and there's not many jjajangmyeon places nearby. There's more on the west side of town, like in Beaverton, the more Asian area. So there's only a few. So I felt like, this is what I was feeling today.
I'm kind of surprised that there even is jjajangmyeon in Portland.
It's super random. It is super random. There's another spot a little bit down the street too, but those are really the only two. So yeah, I really wanted to challenge myself today, and so I got jjajangmyeon. And Jason is not challenging himself. He got a salad, which is it's kind of lame, dude.
I was gonna get naengmyeon. That's what I had planned.
Yeah, bibimbapmyeon. That would have been a worthy challenge.
But I just wasn't feeling it this morning. You know.
Okay. Oh yeah. Also, I have a beef tangsuk. That's where the
crunch comes from.
It's coming from. The tangsuk's pretty good.
Do you like ASMR, Chris? Do you like listen to it or?
I don't have any feelings towards it.
I actually really like it. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I'll listen to it on my headphones.
Is that normal for people? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that in a mean way. Like, really, like, do people? Is that a thing for people?
To go to sleep, I don't. Well, no, it is because a lot of ASMR videos are like 10 minutes to fall asleep, 20 minutes to fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
But I really like. I actually like visual ASMR. It's not ASMR, but there's this one YouTube channel where a guy fixes watches. And it's like super intricate, and I don't know. I love that.
Okay.
But,
I mean, I like when I watch cooking videos. I like the sounds, so that's nice.
The sounds of cooking,
like sounds of chopping.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
frying.
essentially.
Yeah. So next time you're not able to sleep, give me a call, and I will do my mouth sounds for you. And I'll put you to bed.
I almost spit up my food into my shirt, and I would have lost the challenge immediately. That sounds horrifying. But yeah, let's talk about potluck. Let's I try my best to find the history of at least Korean American Adventist potluck. And I realized there's no way for me to find out unless I talk to people. I imagine, Chris, it started at LA Central, if only because it was the first Korean church in America.
Well, potluck is it's in like every Korean church.
I mean, it is, yeah. It's a yeah.
So it started in the old country. You know what I mean? So I would imagine that, you know, churches in Korea, Adventists or not, they were doing potluck, and so it's part built into Korean church culture to have potluck. And so
even in Korea.
Yeah, even in Korea. So if you go to Korea, you'll always have potluck. And so when the people came over from Korea to the United States, obviously they're going to do, that's how they do church. They're going to do potluck. So the roots run deep. The potluck roots run deep in the Korean church.
Why is it called potluck if it's not a potluck?
That's a good question. I don't know that. Probably that's the closest thing in English that we have to it, right?
Or
I'm curious, what do they call it in Korea? Because here they'll call it potluck, which is, you know, an American or an English word. I wonder what they call it in Korea. Maybe it's just lunch.
Yeah, but I think it is interesting because most other churches that I know of, they don't really do potluck, or if they do, it's usually like once or twice a month. The larger, I guess we can call it like evangelical, you know, church. Traditionally, you bring your own lunch, like a picnic style. That's where like fried chicken and churches are kind of connected because that was like the easiest picnic food to make. But it's interesting, this connection between food and church.
Yeah, I think potluck is so awesome, and I didn't always feel that way.
Okay, take us through your like journey, like why it was not awesome for you, and then it became awesome for you.
Well, I think growing up as a kid, because you know, as like a Korean kid, growing up in an immigrant home, and you eat Korean food all the time, like you actually want American food and like fast food. That's what you want as a kid. So like when I was younger, it was fine, but you know, you'd get like spaghetti here and there, but it's mostly like Korean food. Oh, that crunch is really good, man. And then like you'll have Korean food most of the time, and you'd rather go eat like burgers or tacos or something. And then later on, like as a person in ministry, as a pastor, you know, potluck is hard. It's a lot of work.
There's a lot of
people
work.
have to work very hard to make potluck happen. And so when you're in a position of leadership, those questions come up like, is this worth it? You know, should we do potluck? I mean, I like the food and it's great, but you know, the amount of effort, the volunteer labor that goes into it, it's quite a big deal. So, you know, we had, even at Rock, we had a couple times where we were wondering about, do we need to scale back potluck? Do we need to have it less frequently? And I think this happens often in a lot of churches where this is funny, but like potluck becomes this kind of like unspoken competition. And
Interesting.
teams will try to like, I don't think they do it on purpose, but some team does something really good, and so the next team wants to do something really good, and then it gets kind of elaborate, and then it like it inevitably gets to a point where like, guys, this is too much, this is too much, this is too hard, and then it goes back to zero, and then it's like really simple, and then
You know,
that kind of. So I didn't like that part of it as well, but in the latter part of my ministry here, especially, I see the extreme value. Like there is so much value in potluck, and I think we'll get into that later about why I think it's so important that we have potluck. How about you? Like, have you always enjoyed potluck?
I mean, growing up, I went to a larger church, so it seems like the bigger the church, the quality of the food is not. it's harder because you're feeding like it was like 400 people. You're just not able to have like, it's more generic, and it's you're trying to feed people. I never really had an issue. I was never involved with the potluck stuff. Most of the churches that I went to, it was just handled by the Korean side. The EM, they were not in a place to like contribute anything. When I was in LAC, I remember there were talks from the Korean side about shutting down potluck.
Oh, really?
Because the people who were making the potluck food kept getting older, and no one was coming in to help who was younger. So there's like a legendary person in LAC. Her name is Kim Se Jipsanim. She's like the potluck lady, and I mean she's getting really old, and it was like hard for her to do it. And basically, like I remember at a board meeting, it came up. It's really hard. Maybe we need to stop. And the answer was basically absolutely not. Like, which at the time I was kind of like, oh, it's kind of messed up for the lady. But then I also understand the other side. Like, it is an important part of church. But I also wonder, does it mean different things for each of the ministries? So does it mean, is it different for EM versus KM to have a potluck? Because on the EM side, I really do see the value of people eating together. And as a pastor, I'd be able to sit and eat with someone I haven't seen in a while, or a visitor, or even just, people I know. Like, that was a big part of eating together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I imagine KM is similar, but I was just wondering if,
Yeah, I was reading this article. There was an article that came out, I think, like 2 years ago, that in the New York Times, and it was an article about Korean church potluck and the significance of that, and like as a Korean American, how when he eats it, it is like really meaningful for him. And he kind of went over some of the, not history, but that it was really an important part of the first generation immigrant experience to have that meal with, people who are like them, of the same culture, eating food that they love together in a communal setting. Because, in the week, during the week, they're working and they're doing all the things to survive. And so it was kind of a grounding, kind of a settling experience for those people. And so it became, this is funny because I think through this our podcast, we keep burping.
Yep.
And we keep backing away. I shouldn't have gotten a sparkly drink, but anyway, so he was saying that it was a really grounding experience for the first generation. So I would imagine, like, yeah, it's really important for them to do that. I feel like now it's this is how we do church. Like, this is how we do life here in this church as a Korean community. So, when people come and visit, non-Koreans come and visit, and we talk about potluck. Everybody obviously loves potluck, like not just for the food. But I tell them, and I mean, I kind of make a big claim here, and I think it's generally true that if you go to any Korean church in the entire world, they will have potluck. Like, I'm pretty confident. Like, Korean churches in Australia will have potluck. Korean churches in Canada. If there was a Korean church in like Mexico, I bet you, like full of Korean people, they would have potluck. Like, it's just built into what we do because we are a kind of a communal, community-centered type of. I mean, as many ethnic groups are, we're really, we don't value individualism as much as we do here in the West, and so. It's a big part of it. So I tell that to people, and people are like really shocked. And for me, it was surprising when I learned that some churches or many churches don't have potluck regularly. I grew up in it, so I thought everybody did it. And then when I found it, excuse me, sorry. And then when I found out that most churches don't, and they do it like once a month, I was really, really surprised.
Yeah, those are like all the little things that we discover about other churches that for people who just grew up in a Korean church, we would not know. And it is very interesting to me. Yeah, so how does Rock do potluck? Because you have a large EM group, you have a large KM group. Is it joint, separate? Like, how does that work?
Excuse me. So we do potluck separately
Okay.
because we have separate worship times too.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right, so we can't really share potluck, and we don't have enough space, and it's too many people. But we do completely separate potlucks. We have about like 14 teams.
Oh,
Of
wow.
about
Okay.
yeah, and so it makes it so that you only have to do potluck like 3 times a year or something
Right.
like that. And so, so shout out, man, to all the potluck teams across the globe. Like they are the goats. I mean, what they do oftentimes is kind of expected and maybe taken for granted. But
yeah,
like
absolutely.
here on the potluck,
Yes.
we appreciate and love potluck teams and all their work. So if you're listening and you're a potluck team, thank you for what you do.
Yes.
So we have like 14 teams. I think they do 3 times a year, and each one is a lead, and the lead picks the menu and will send out the information to the people like, hey, I need you to get these things. I need you to prepare this way. And usually what happens is each team has its go-to items or
Yeah.
theme, you know? And so they'll just always, they'll do the same thing every time. But it's okay because there's so many different teams. One of the things that we also do that on holiday weekends, when a lot of people are traveling, it's really hard. Like most teams are broken up, because people are traveling. So we do what we call community potluck, which that one is like a true potluck style. Everyone brings a little something. And so that potluck is like usually really, really good.
Yeah.
Because you get this huge variety of things. Because usually, because the other potlucks are not traditional potlucks, it's one team provides the meal. And so they'll do bibimbap one time. They'll do like veggie burgers one time. They'll do like California rolls. But community potluck, you get all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And I remember one of the first times, as our church was becoming a little bit more diverse and more multi-ethnic, we started getting other ethnic dishes in the community potluck.
Nice.
And I remember a lot of us were really excited about that. It's nice that we have our church is growing in this way where it's becoming multi-ethnic, but for it to be represented in the potluck was kind of like, oh, this is legit. Like these people are actually fully engaged in the church to the point where they're bringing their food. So we had Spanish rice, we had Indian curry, those kinds of things. And so that was really cool. One lady, she made tamales one times, and it was awesome. So those are fun. Those are a lot of work though, but it's really nice. That's kind of how we do it, and
Yeah.
I know I love it.
That's a big milestone for a church, especially if you're serious about becoming actually multi-ethnic. Yeah, naturally, the potluck will reflect your church, for better or for worse, right? If you have a really cliquey church, you'll see it in your potluck. If you have a really open, welcoming church, you'll see it in your potluck. I feel like the potluck is the visual representation of, dare I say, the health of your church even?
That might be a little bit too
Is that
much,
too much?
but I see what you're saying.
Okay, so maybe not the health, but it is a pretty good barometer of your church and how it's made up, and
Especially as it relates to kind of the diversity.
sure, and
And I-
maybe in
and
the
I
communal
think-
sense.
Yeah, and I think the special thing about it is it speaks to the level of engagement of the non-Korean members.
Yes.
And this is why one of the things that I like about potluck, aside from the food, aside from the community, is it is a easy way. It is kind of like entry level
Yeah.
volunteering in the church. It's the first thing you do.
yeah.
If you're going to get involved, that's kind of the first way to give back to the church. So if you feel like you've received something and you're thankful, one of the first ways to give back, obviously financially you can give, but your time and energy is to be a part of a potluck team. And I think that's really nice because it's, like I said, we only do it 3 times a year, but it shows investments and it's not so easy and it's not so hard. And so the more of the non-Korean community that gets involved in this one important ministry, it shows that they're taking steps to not just attend church and be a spectator, but to actually be a part of the church.
Yeah. I think the church I go to, that is kind of how the leadership is able to kind of gauge how engaged a new family or new person is. And there's obviously a lot of like waiting and kind of making sure. But yeah, one of the first ways is we approach them like, hey, are you interested in joining a potluck group? And usually when they say yes, that I feel like is like that threshold in which they cross over into like, okay, they're like part of our church in a deeper way. And then, maybe after a year or so, then we can start asking them if they're interested in taking up positions of leadership. But yeah, potluck is like that very easy entryway. Like you said, you eat it every day or every week. I think generally there's a feeling of you want to give back, and potluck is probably the best way. Or one of the better ways of doing that.
Yeah, there was a time where we considered at Rock not doing potluck. It was when we did our building project because we moved from this building to a school. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, this might be a nice break. And so we had to have a very serious conversation about whether we should do potluck or not. And we decided to continue with potluck even at the school. And it was hard actually. And we felt for the teams, because they work hard and it's tiring to do it, and they needed a break, but we gotta push through. And I remember in LA Central when I was a kid growing up, we did a big renovation project too, and it was a really big project in that we couldn't even be at the church and we weren't at a school, we were at the hospital. Right? And so we were at the hospital, and it's not like we had access to a kitchen. So if there was any time to not have potluck, it was there. But they still did potluck, and we had kimbap every day for or every week for a year. And I got so sick of it. But it speaks to the commitment that the Korean ministry has to potluck. And, I think it's bled into our ministries as well. It's it's so significant for us, I think.
Yeah, my wife mentioned the same thing, kimbap every week during renovation, and she couldn't eat it for a while after.
Yeah, I was sick of it. I was so sick of it.
So, I'm trying to... what I realized, kind of on an operating note, when people do mukbang, they don't talk, right? They
just you just watch them eat.
Yeah. It's hard to talk because as you eat, your body generates extra saliva. I don't know if you have this issue, but...
Yeah.
So, anyway, I hope people are enjoying it so far. Because I could see some people really not liking this. Yeah, rest assured, this is not a regular thing on this podcast. We like to try new stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I was talking to this guy at our church. He's not Korean. He's Asian. And he was going to American churches for a long time. And he told me that he was an elder at a church, and he told me that one of the things that he recommended to, for the church's health and the church's growth is weekly potluck.
Oh yeah. Okay. What's it?
And he was saying how important this is, because I think, and I really don't want to say anything negative about other churches, but to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and if our listeners want to correct me, that's totally fine. I think having potluck speaks to the commitment to community that you are trying to build in the church. And I'm not saying that these other churches don't, but this is a very practical, difficult step to be really committed to building community in your church. Because most churches, they come and then they leave, right? They just come for service and then leave, and then they don't see each other. And so he was telling me that he presented this idea, and they could not wrap their heads around it. They could not see how it was possible to have weekly potluck. They'll do once a month. And
logistically.
Yeah, logistically, the manpower,
right?
The volunteers, and I get how daunting it is. But I just feel it is one of the best things we do for community. Thinking about church without potluck is weird to me, and that's probably just because I was raised in it. But I don't know. Have you ever gone to a church where you didn't have potluck, or like, how did that feel for you?
No, every church I've been to had a potluck. I mean, even, well, when I visit, again, non-Korean churches, there's no potluck. But, when you visit a non-Korean church, at least for me, there is a level of, like, I don't belong. A lot of it is because that's literally true. Like, I'm on vacation or I'm visiting, so it's not my church. There are one-offs, so obviously it's not my church. But even just like the comfort, and we talk about this in our pastors meeting, and we'll talk about it in a future podcast episode, this idea of like a third space, especially for immigrants and children of immigrants. When you go to like a mainstream church, by mainstream we just mean kind of, your average, typical, multi-ethnic, larger white church, for lack of a better word. It feels different. Do you experience this too, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't been a lot.
Right, I haven't been to a lot either, but the few I've been to.
We do have to like nuance it, because anytime I've been there, and I was not intending to be a member there, like
exactly,
always,
right.
Like you were saying. So,
right. So because of that, when there's no potluck, it's par for the course. Essentially, it's like, yeah, there's that strong sense of community isn't there. Whether it's because I never intended for it to happen, I'm just visiting, what have you. It's just not there. And yeah, you're right. I think that does kind of point to the larger difference in culture. I was actually talking to one of, we had like a kids church thing, like impromptu one yesterday. And he was talking about how, this guy, he kind of grew up in Washington, grew up with a lot of white people, and a lot of his close friends are white. And he was kind of saying how it's so different how they approach community and friendship. And, I made this point of like, yeah, I feel like because we're Korean American, we feel like we understand like kind of the Western American perspective on a lot of things, which we do. But there's a whole other part that we don't, it's hard for us to understand because we're still Korean or East Asian also. And I think this is one of it. Like, it doesn't make sense to us for there not to be this like central coming together of eating at a church.
Yeah.
Whereas from their perspective, it's also equally like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you even want to do that? And I think it just points to they're just two different cultures. And as Korean Americans, we're kind of stuck in the middle of it, where we kind of bounce between both.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think they do see it, though, because I know that a lot of churches will say, okay, we're not going to have potluck, but you should invite someone to your home to eat and like have community that way. And okay, you're making a face, and I feel like the face you're making reflects the same thought. Like, how many people actually do that, But like there is kind of like the knowledge that, yeah, like eating together brings people together, brings people closer, and it's a really good way to build that. But it's like it's outsourced to the individual to decide to do that or not. Whereas in the church, it's like mandated by the body that we have to do this.
Right, and it's also like a should. Like, there's a church that would be like, oh yeah, we should have a strong children's program. It's like the core of the church, but they don't do it. It's like, well, if it's really that important to you, put the effort and try it. It's like, yeah, we should have food, but you do it at your house and you invite your friends. It's like, well, if it's that important, do it, kind of a thing. Yeah, and that's also hard because as a visitor, like I'm not gonna go to some random person's house to eat their food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like at a potluck, it's built in.
Yeah.
It's there, and I visited church.
What we have noticed at our church though is because we call it potluck, and it's because it's kind of like it's not the right word for what we do. Yeah. Right? It's more of a prepared themed communal meal, but like that's weird. We can't call it that. we sense that some people think they can't eat because they didn't bring something. Because they grew up a potluck, you bring food, and so they came to church and like they didn't bring anything, and so they feel a little hesitant. So we actually, in our announcements, when we do invite people to potluck, we always have to mention, hey, even though you didn't bring anything, like we want you to eat with us. Like it's cool. And like I would say there are some potential downsides or risks with potluck because, like we said, it's so good for community. But for many years, like I was in churches where like during potluck, the fact that you are not a part of the group is accentuated because like nobody sits with you. You know what I mean? So like if you're going to have potluck and you're going to commit to community, don't let that happen because that's going to make them feel worse. Actually. Even worse. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I really am not a part of this place because no one wants to sit with me during lunch. And that's tough.
You know, I had that happen to me in Chicago. There was a guy who, his parents were like heavily involved in the Korean side, but he was in and out of church, and I didn't really know him all that well. And he had really just got married, and he was kind of coming to the church, and you know, or I shouldn't say every, but I feel like most churches around the country, everyone sits at roughly the same table and area. Right? Is that true for your church?
Yeah.
For the most part, like every church I've been to, you kind of have a section of the room where you generally sit. And so at this church, it was a smaller, it was decently sized, but we had a row, and that was kind of the EM row. So we'd all just kind of sit there, and this guy would sit on the opposite side, and I don't know him well. I sat with him the first couple times, but you know, especially as pastors, there's other stuff we have to do. And I think what happened was he was intentionally sitting there to see if anyone would sit with him. And no one sat with him. And so after a couple weeks, he like confronted me and one of our leaders. And he's like, I'm never coming to the church again.
Oh, jeez.
And, you know, the elder or the EM leader that was there, he kind of tried to explain and help, and it just wasn't happening. And we're both kind of like, we understand the sentiment, but also like kind of a weird thing to do. Like, and so I was just kind of stuck in that. I didn't know how to process it. I was a first time pastor, and it kind of weighed on me for a long time. Like, oh, like I messed up. I should have sat with this guy every week. But I don't know, like, have you had an experience like that or similar?
I mean, there's plenty of times where you see people who are sitting alone, and so you know, I'm kind of highly sensitive to that. So in my past churches, I would always try to go sit with new people and people who are sitting alone. But I mean, I think that's weird. I think like the testing of the church, you know, is kind of weird. But I mean, the reality is people do think like that, and people do that, and so it's all the more important because you can't. And I guess what it comes down to is like we have to understand why we're doing potluck. Like if potluck is just to eat, then then you don't really care about the other people who are in that room, and you don't really care about the guests or the returning person who hasn't been to church in a long time. But if we understand that we do potluck to build community and to give the church and the people in that building space to connect, then that is why potluck is worthwhile. You know, and I think that's what I want to get across today. Potluck is worthwhile because that happens and it creates the opportunity for that. Potluck is not worthwhile because we're hungry after church and we need food. That is
like a bigger purpose, potluck.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have to dig deep and dial in on in the church. Like, this is why we do it. And I think we do a pretty poor job of communicating that regularly. Like, we don't really do that. You know, we just say it. But we should remind ourselves every so often that we do this because people feel connected to the church when we sit and we eat together.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful to view it almost as a part of not necessarily outreach, but the potluck ministry is a vital, like, front-facing element of your church. Right? It's a highly visible thing. Most people who come to church, they'll go through your potluck. And yeah, be kind of intentional about explaining that to our potluck groups. Like, hey, you're not just making food. You're actually, like, a core part of our church's hospitality, you know, department or efforts. And, you know, there's a very important element of that. And all the leadership, too. Senior pastor at my church, Pastor Daniel Park, he does that with the pastoral staff. He's like, hey, potluck is super important. Like, this is the time where we need you all to, like, be active and talk to people. And I really appreciated that, because it's an intentional effort to make potluck not just lunchtime, but, like, community building time, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I really want to once again shout out to all the people who serve in potluck teams.
Potluck teams, the potluck coordinator, if you have one, who has to manage all the teams. And, you know, there's times where, like, you just have a random influx of visitors and you're scrambling to make enough food. Like, that's super stressful. Yeah, all the work that you all do, we're so thankful.
Yeah, our leader, her name is Christine. She does a fantastic job. Her and her friend Anna, they work super hard at it. Every year they rebuild teams and reshuffle teams based on people's, you know, life situations, based on new people. And so they are so intentional about the teams. They think about, like, who to put with this person so that they could build a nice connection here and they can work together. And then they build out the schedule for the year, you know, being aware of, like, the other things. So it's, like, so much that, like, if I did it, it would be horrible, right? Like, if I did it, it would be a mess. And so I'm so grateful to them. And, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know how it is at the churches you attend and you're a part of, but, you know, I think it's important for men to be involved in potluck. Like, it's not just a women's thing. Like, men should get involved. It's not just a family thing. Young adults should get involved. Like, this, like I said, this is one of the first ways you can give back to a church that you feel blessed by and you've received great things from. Like, give back and you can serve in the potluck.
Yeah, I think, you know, the churches I've been to that are more Korean dominant, yeah, it does kind of happen to be more of the women who are preparing and serving. Church I'm at now, which is very not Korean centered, it's very mixed, which is awesome to see. And so a lot of the guys will come help set up, serve. A lot of them are in the kitchen, like, prepping. So yeah, this is the church I've been to where it's the most, like, integrated and connected, I guess, which is really cool. Are you part of a potluck team?
So no, I specifically am not. My wife is, but we often do preparation together. But it's hard because a lot of the preparation happens during the church time, and so if I'm preaching, I can't really do it and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I try to help as much as I can before.
Yeah, my wife and I, we were part of a team, but it was really hard because I was, like you said, working, and then she had 2 young kids, and they were, like, super understanding, which is really, really awesome. And I think that really also helps with the community. Like, they understand our phase of life, and so our help was more financial than anything else.
Yeah, there's always that too.
Yeah, which it helps. I mean, potluck's not cheap, so but yeah, as much as I could, I tried to at least help clean up afterwards.
Yeah, we have it's a part of our church culture that the youth clean up everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but there was, like, this understanding that you don't contribute anything to this and you just eat, so you can clean up. And so it's become a part of it. The youth come and they'll wipe the tables, they'll do the dishes, and it's actually really great.
But I think it's great because the youth are involved, but, like, the pastor's also involved in potluck, whether it's, even if it's just a little bit that they can do before or after, or financial. It's like top to bottom, like, we're all in it, and it's one of the ministries that touches every single person, because not everyone is, you know, on a worship team, not everyone is a deacon or elder, but, like, everyone is a part of potluck, which really cool.
Yeah. And so I think we also want people who enjoy potluck to realize that it is a very special thing that you have. Like I said, most church, even though you grew up in it and it seems like every church you've ever visited has potluck, most churches in United States, for sure, don't have potluck. And it is a very special thing that we get. And, we have people will visit your church because of potluck. And
Sure.
I think we should celebrate that.
Yeah.
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 I think we should celebrate that because, like I said, it's not an opportunity to show off the food. It is an opportunity to meet people that people who come to your church that otherwise wouldn't have, and who knows what God can do through that moment.
Yeah. That was our podcast episode about potluck. We hope it was inspiring. We hope that at the very least the potluck teams felt appreciated through our podcast. And maybe help our churches to be more intentional about integrating potluck into ministry. We'd love for that to happen. I failed my challenge.
Okay, I could see it actually. Seems like a pretty big spot.
It is. What about you?
Oh man.
Oh,
I'm clean.
That's impressive.
That's crazy.
That's impressive. You need to tell your wife immediately.
I did it.
And I'm going to throw my shirt away and hide it from my wife.
I'm genuinely shocked.
I know, that's crazy.
Oh my! Oh no, this is an old one. This is an old steak.
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Thank
You've
you. I
changed
win.
Since I last seen you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you again for joining our podcast. We hope that it didn't creep you out and disgust you too much. Rest assured, our next episode will be normal. We will not be eating and slurping and grossing you out. Please subscribe to our show, and we hope that this will trigger conversations in your own churches during the potluck part of service.
And make sure you show some love to your potluck
Yes.
teams, your potluck coordinators. Give them a hug. Tell them thank
Yes.
you. Send them a clip of this podcast and let them know that they are appreciated, loved, and valued.
Yes, they are the MVPs of the potluck podcast. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good week.